wonder why I can't turn around when it's on. That sucks. All right, so I want to just talk briefly about Andrew Luck, the quarterback for the Colts who called it a career. And all these guys are on him like, oh, he's a quitter. That just ticks me off, man. First of all, I've never, ever had any respect for people who say that football players are stupid or felons. They call it the National Felon League or something. If you look at the amount of criminals in the NFL relative to society as a whole, my understanding is the NFL is actually clean. And it always makes me mad. Or that the NFL players are stupid. Man, you got to be quick with your mind to be a football player in that league. If you ever seen how fast these guys move and how fast they react, there's no place in there for someone who's dim-witted. It's just not. Not only you got to be obviously incredibly gifted athletically, you got to think. You have to have a thought process in your head like I can't imagine to process. And it takes study, man. You got to study what's going on out there so you can react accordingly, because it's all reaction. You got to study and study and study. I never played NFL football or anything. Not even college football. Hell, the only place I played was JV football. But I mean, these guys are. So I never understood the idolizing either of men by other men. Oh, Andrew Luck, you're my hero. Like, dude, you're a grown man. Why are you making this guy? He's only 29 years old. Why would a grown man make a 29-year-old guy his hero? It doesn't make any sense to me. I've never understood that. And now even worse when grown men make college players like their heroes or their bogeyman. Like, oh, I can't believe he threw that pick. I'm like, dude, he's a freaking kid. He's a kid, like a year or two out of high school. I've never understood this where a grown man is living vicariously through another grown man. I've always found that to be creepy, to be perfectly honest with you. We got a couple guys in my neighborhood, well, not my neighborhood, my school district, who were ex-NFL players, and man, just watching some of these white guys just bow down before these guys. It's embarrassing. I'm like, dude, this is just people, man. I mean, look, I know they played NFL football. I think they both won Super Bowls, but they're nice guys, but they're just people. I've never understood like, oh, it's weird to me. Anyway, it's just odd. So it bothered me when there was on Andrew Luck, like he did something wrong. I said, hey, he freaking got lacerated kidneys, man. Lacerated kidneys. I mean, come on. The guy, he gave it his all. He wants to play, but it doesn't do it for him anymore. And what would you expect? And it's like my man Flemlo is saying, what if you're grinding away at a freaking machine shop and you freaking, you couldn't move your arms anymore? Oh, you're a quitter? I mean, it's the same thing. So I'll relate that back to me. I'll never forget when I was in Ranger School, because it kind of reminds me of me when I was in Ranger School, because at some point you just realize I don't got it anymore. I got nothing. And this is exactly what happened to me. And, I'd never really wanted to be in the Army to begin with, but I was an idiot in school, and I was lucky to graduate. So I went in the Army. It's the best thing ever happened, without question. I mean, for what I needed. But I don't even know how I found myself in Ranger School. I think we're getting ready to deploy to Vermont for the mountain warfare training. I was like, I don't want to do that in the middle of the winter time. And they said, well, we got a spot for a pre-ranger if you want to go that instead. I said, yeah, I'll do that. I had just, my roommate and a couple of my friends had just been killed in a car crash coming up from Rochester, New York, back to Fort Drum, not too long before that. And that shattered me. That shattered me pretty significantly. I think I just turned 19. Maybe I hadn't even turned 19 yet, something like that. And I never had anyone die that I knew that well. I mean, I've had people I'd known die, but not who I was close to. And I was lost, man. I wasn't like suicidal or anything. I just had nothing. And so I said, I don't want to go to a training camp or to a deployment with my unit if I can get out of it, because like I said, I was just lost. I said, I'll go to pre-ranger, why not? And look, I mean, I'm not hardcore, I'm just a dude. But I went there and wasn't expecting much, and I passed, couldn't believe it. And the only reason I passed is because when our patrol, the last patrol of the 3-week, what's called a field exercise, I got the coordinates of where we needed to go. And I had a good friend of mine who I can't remember his name anymore, but he was good. I mean, he was a trooper. He and I used to smoke cigarettes while everybody else was not, and just a good guy. And I said, hey man, you know where you're going? He goes, yep, follow me. And I said, okay. So we just followed him, and he got us back to where we were supposed to be, and I passed. A couple of weeks or months later, I can't remember, I was down to Fort Benning for Ranger School. Kind of weird, because I've never been the Boy Scouts, never been hardcore. Played high school football as a freshman and a junior, JV for the junior and freshman for the freshman. Never played much, just never really cared. Actually could never stand the people who got into it like they're going to the NFL. I was just always a pest. Let's put it that way. Like, people be all into it, I'd be like, I was just always getting fights and stuff on the field, and because I just didn't care. And people hated that about me, I'm sure. Kind of like I can't stand it about financial planners who don't care about the business, advising people about what to do with their money when they don't care about the business. That actually annoys me to no end. I'm sure I was like that to, the people in the Army I was with, as well as the people I would play football with, because I just didn't care. I was like, dude, we're not going to the NFL. Stop acting like you are. And but I get it. I mean, I'm sure they despise me the way I despise some of these financial planners out there who just could care less. All right, so we get down to Ranger School at Fort Benning, and again, I was 9-90, and we're sitting there the first, I guess it's 3 weeks, and they just run you through crazy. It's just nuts. And I didn't pass, I got recycled. Then you go a second time, and somehow I passed that. I can't remember how. It was weird. I was like, I didn't expect to, but all right. I was kind of floating around, wasn't really trying. I wasn't not trying. I mean, it's hard, but I wasn't like super trooper or anything like that. I was just doing what they told me to do, and that's for the first class or phase. That's enough. All these other guys are failing out because it's pretty physically challenging. I didn't. I was like, all right, let's keep going. So I went twice through that, and then we go up to Dahlonega, which is up here in Georgia, North Georgia mountains, and they make you you gotta tie and rappel down these mountains with a guy on your back and all kinds of stuff. I don't know how to do any of that crap. I was like, man, this is just not my cup of tea. And but I tried, and I didn't pass the first phase or the second phase up in mountain. I didn't pass that time, so I'm in my fourth phase now. I think you get 3 recycles and they kick you out. And so this is so I'm in my third recycle, and if I don't make it, then I'm done. You know what I'm saying? And whatever, man. I was like, okay. So, it's kind of motivated because I didn't want to get kicked out, but at the same time, I just never really cared that much. And a lot of these guys, they're like, freaking Ranger, hardcore, blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay. All right, so long story short, as we get in the fourth, this is my fourth phase now. If I don't make it this time, I'm done. I get kicked out. And a lot of my friends well, not a lot, I didn't have that many, but so I guess it was like 8 of us from my unit, at least my battalion, were down there. And a couple of those guys had advanced, well beyond me. They're in the Florida phase or Utah phase at this point. So I'm in the Dahlonega phase for the second time after being 2 times at Benning. And some of these guys are in the last phase. These guys I know, what I'm saying? Some of these guys I was even in basic with. I was like, man. So I was kind of jealous by these guys, envious. Because I was like, man, they're kicking butt, taking names. And I'm back here. I still got more time to go because they're almost done. I was like, man. All right, so anyway, the last, when I was in there, you got graded in 3 ways. One, you got a spot report. That is, you screw up basically, and the instructor gives you a little ding. Scanlon. And another one is you got to get judged by your peers. And then the third one is your patrols. And so I smoked. I was kind of a loudmouth, back talker. So spot reports I knew was always going to be a problem. I've always was pretty confident my peers would grade me pretty well just because I always carried the load. I was like a mule. The patrols were always one I didn't know that, but that was always one that was going to be, make or break me for sure. So in the last phase, I think we got 5 days left, and I basically got like I can't remember how many spot reports you have, but I probably had set the record for total spot reports in all of Ranger School, but I think I had like one left to give. So as long as I kept clean with the last 5 days, at least I wouldn't get spot reported out. It was going to be close to being peer reported out in terms of what your peers thought of you, because this is right after when the Gulf War had first broke out, or not the broken out, but when they started preparing people for the Gulf War, and we lost a number of candidates, mostly in special forces, who were called to their units back in wherever their units were, Fort Bragg or whatnot, to prepare for war. And we're like, what the? So anyway, so some of the guys who are advocates for me were gone, and some of the guys who left were not advocates for me. So I could easily see being peered out, but I wasn't sure. So I did what I could to be on my best behavior, not to piss people off. Unfortunately, I had a sneaky suspicion that I didn't have a whole lot of, I hate to say friends, it's not like they're enemies of you, but just, a lot of people you don't see eye to eye with. Because again, I'm just not hardcore. I don't care in that regard. I do care about financial planning. Anyway, so I knew it was probably gonna come down if I passed my my patrol. I've shared this with you before. We were freaking freezing. No, it wasn't freezing. It was July, under a poncho. Everyone's just dead tired. We've been out in the field for 10 days or something like that. It just sucked. And this is our last night in the field, or second to last night. I can't remember. It's one of those days, and you're just like, dude, just let me get. But I knew there's only 3 patrols left, and I said, okay, I get. So you got 3 patrols left before you're back at your headquarters, and you're like, so I'm one of these 3 is me. And 3 in the morning, the instructor gave me the map, and he said, okay, take us back. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. I was like, man, I don't know anywhere where I don't know. I'm tired. It's raining on me. I'm under my poncho. I can't keep awake. Long story short, we didn't make it. I didn't make it. And anyway, so what happened was I didn't make it. I knew it was going to come down to the last, I think I had 3 days left of that phase, that I had to not get in trouble. No more spot reports. So we're coming back like next day. We finished up and everything. And we're coming back the next day. This actually is funny because this is where I got my first addiction to coffee. There's some lukewarm coffee out there, and we were done with this whole patrol. So we were done. I failed, but I still had a good chance for peering, and as long as I didn't get another spot report, I would have passed. But I'll never forget. So I'm drinking this coffee, and it was like heavenly. I was like, oh, that's where I first started becoming addicted to coffee, by the way. But this guy from the 25th ID, he and I did not see eye to eye. And I knew he had more guys on his side than I had on mine, because the guys that were on my side were called out to go to what turned out to be Iraq, even though we didn't know at that point. And he said something snarky, and I went after him. And I went after him big time. I don't think I hit him, but I was in his face, and I was like, mofo this, mofo that, because I was pissed, because I can't remember what he said, but he didn't give me any help on the patrol or anything. Not that I would expect it, but you're supposed to, help your leader who gets taken over, and he didn't do that. And long story short, that was what did me in. So I got a spot report for going after this guy. I still have 3 days left. I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to make this or not. And I just had nothing left. I was like, I'm just done. I'm done with these fools. I'm done with this whole thing. And I just remember telling the guy, I said, I'm just done. I got nothing left. The ranger instructor. So I'm done. He goes, all right, well, if you quit, and I was right in the middle of the field. Well, actually, no, I think we had to get back. And he said, if you quit now, it's lack of motivation. I'll never be able to come back again. I said, man, I just had nothing left. I was like, I've gave it all I got. Got no motivation. I'm literally, they call the lack of motivation LOM. I said, that's what I got. I just literally could care less at that point. And I knew I was going to pass anyway because I had an extra spot report. So anyway, here's what Andrew Luck just reminded me of that. He says, like, I remember, it's like sitting there, you wake up in the morning, you're like, I'm just done. I got nothing. And people say, oh, you should motivate yourself and stuff like that. I said, man, I motivated myself for basically a year up to that point to even go to this. And hey, what's going on, Jim? Whew. And I said, I got nothing. So I could see Andrew Luck's point. He's like, dude, I've given all I can to this. And I just don't have anything more to give. And that's a bad feeling, man. But it's a good feeling too, because so I quit. Like what happened to me, just like Andrew Luck. I'm not comparing myself to this guy, but I said, I've done everything I possibly could. I probably could have been a little bit less hot-headed. Always been hot-headed, which is why I don't drink. Always followed, which was not good of me, but when someone pisses you off, you lash out first as opposed to settling it diplomatically. Not a good way to live your life as a young man. I don't know if that's a temper I got from my dad. Comes down from being Irish, I don't know. My grampy on the German side, he was never like that. At least I could tell. He was just always very calm, collected. And my side, my dad's side though, very, very, lots of tempers there. At least on my dad's side and his dad too. So I'm not sure if that's actually due to being of Irish descent, because the German descent didn't keep me from always striking first. There's a song by a band called Black Market Baby, Strike First, a DC punk rock band, a legendary DC punk rock band. It's a great song. And I was always been like that since I was a kid. I've never been a big guy either, always little or smaller than most people. But, anytime I'd get mad, I'd just like lash out. It was crazy. And that's what I did this guy in Ranger School. And, just like, dude, and I'll sit there and say, man, I should have done something differently. I mean, there's nothing I could have done differently, but it's embarrassing to always have to apologize to people. And that's the thing, like when you got a temper, that's why you can't be drinking if you got a temper, my friends. Because if you always have to apologize to people, that gets old quick. You don't want to be that guy, I'm telling you. Find a way to not lash out. And the first thing to do is stop drinking, I'm telling you right now. So for me, but then I also remember too, it's like, man, I gave it all I got. And it feels good to know you gave it all you got. And just for whatever reason, the cars weren't with you. That feels good. It's frustrating, but it feels good knowing, hey, you went down and you gave your whole thing. Just for whatever reason, it just wasn't on your side. And I just think I hope, I don't know why I've been saying this, but I just hope that's what you look at in your own life as you struggle for whatever you're trying to do, even if you don't succeed. If you can go down and say, I did everything I could possibly do to make this work, but it didn't work, that's not a bad thing, man. I mean, that's just like me in Ranger School. Hell, that's just like me in the Army. I mean, if you would have known me as a 17-year-old kid when I signed up for the delayed entry program, and I got a little bit of trouble with the law, and I went up to MEPS to go to Fort Jackson Communications, so it was my basic training, and just sitting there, I'll never forget this. Get ready to get on the plane. They said, before we let you on, anybody have any pending issues that we need to hear about. I'll never forget sitting there saying, should I tell them about what my pending court case is, or should I just hope it goes away? And for some reason, I told them what my pending court case was. And here I am today. I don't know what would happen if I would not have done that. But I did. I fessed up that a pending court case. And so essentially what that meant was I had to, I renege on my enlistment. And I'll never forget, my recruiter was pissed. And so after we got that resolved, it took a while. I still had nothing to do. I mean, I was not in a good place, because I goofed off throughout my senior year in high school because I knew I was going to the Army. I just barely graduated, like I said. So I called him, I said, hey, I still want to go in. He goes, well, the only thing we have for you now is infantry. And he was kind of blowing me off. It's a sales pitch, I know. Looking in hindsight, I didn't know what he was doing because he needed to recruit for the infantry. I said, hey, what happened at Fort Jackson? He goes, nope. I said, man, I don't want to go in the infantry. That's like real Army. I wanted to learn something. He goes, well, all right. I guess you're not going in. I said, here's the one thing I can tell you, though, Scanlon, is at least you get more money for college. I said, okay, well, I guess if that's all I got, that's all I got. And by then I was 18. I didn't need my dad to sign or anything, so I just, okay. So I just signed. And the infantry I went, and here I am today. So it's weird how things work out, but At the end of the day, I stuck with the Army, stuck with that, stuck with being a financial planner, stuck with getting my CFP, stuck with getting my master's degree. And if none of that, if I don't succeed, and I haven't succeeded in a lot of different things, let me tell you, man. But the most frustrating thing is when you don't succeed if you didn't try hard, if you didn't try hard enough. But if you try hard enough and you gave it, you leave it on the field, so to speak, there's nothing to be ashamed of. And you certainly shouldn't be booed like my man Andrew Luck is there. I mean, my goodness. The guy is literally a walking wounded, and people are going to boo that guy because they're living vicariously through another grown man. It's just weird to me. So just remember, whatever you're trying to do, feel proud that you gave it your all, even if it didn't end up working out like you had anticipated or hoped. You don't know what kind of lessons you're going to take from that. You don't know. You don't know what you're going to learn. You don't know what will end up happening, how that still might be proved to be a good thing for what happened to you. I'm telling you, man, don't get too hard on yourself. I was never too hard on myself about Ranger School. I was always proud. I said, man, I did it. I was there for 4 months. And I said, I didn't make it, but I feel pretty good. And I said, I still did it in the infantry. I never expected to go in the infantry. There's no way, if you would have known me, that I would be an infantryman. And I went in the infantry and I made it. I mean, I'm still to this day proud of myself for both those things, without question. And proud of myself for going to college. And it's okay to be proud of yourself and pat yourself on the back. But at the same time, there's a lot of stuff I'm ashamed about myself too, and I wish I could take back, but you can't. But you gotta say, at the end of the day, all you can do is change tomorrow. You can't change the past. So give yourself a break. Allow yourself the room to fail, as long as you leave it on the floor, on the field. And then pat yourself on the back. It's okay. Even if it didn't work out the way you thought. Say, I tried it. I'm good. Pat yourself on the back. And recognize it. I made some mistakes. Let's just not do that again. All right, we'll see you.